My name is Eddie Leal, and I train with a body engineer. Good morning. My name is Eddie Leal. I'm 56 years old, and I'm a senior executive vice president for a local bank.
So what initially inspired you to start personal training?
Actually, it was a culmination of many years of bad numbers, bad lab numbers. And the doctor kept telling me, hey, you're going down this path and you really need to focus on doing something to improve your life. And never did anything. I finally got to that age and those numbers became reality. And the doctor says, it's time. You're gonna have to get on medication. So I said, hang on, let me try this first before we start putting me on stuff that I really don't want in my body.
How long have you been on this personal training journey with us?
It's been about 5 months.
And how much weight have you lost in those 5 months so far?
If I use my calculation, I probably lost more than 30 pounds of fat. I mean, that's gained muscle, but the number we've been focused on is this fat, body fat. That's the big number.
How has personal training changed your perspective on fitness and health?
Having to get up at 4:30 in the morning and be here by 5, your perspective changes given that, you now have people waiting on you and you have to go. It's the way to motivate yourself is to get here and say, I've got people that I'm paying and hired to help me, waiting for me. So I got to get up and do this. And doing this for the last 120 days or so, now it's automatic. I'm up on the weekends at the same time when I don't need to. I'm ready to go and do this.
Can you describe a specific moment when you realized that personal training was making a significant impact in your life?
I think really how I feel and how clothes fit me. The gains have been phenomenal on the scale because I've been netting out between fat and muscle, but the big changes have been the way my clothes feel. Had to cycle through new clothes fairly quickly, and those gains I get lots of compliments from my wife and my family about how much I've changed, and they obviously do see the progress and the hard work that I put in.
What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting out, and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge for me was admitting that I got a problem, right? Nobody sees themselves as they are. They see themselves as they were when they were in their 20s. In your mind, you have to make that leap to say, I can't do this by myself, and I really need somebody who is focused on what I need to do, how to do it, how to properly do it, and just hand those responsibilities to a stranger at this point, and hopefully the results are shown.
How did your personal trainer tailor the program to fit your unique needs and goals?
Actually, Palma did a good job because she knew what my limitations were physically. I've had certain issues with my back and my knees, so she tailored things around those issues I had, but she, in the same sense, started helping me build strength in those areas and started slowly introducing more and more exercises that target those areas. So at this point, I don't think I have any more limitations physically.
What surprised you the most about working with a personal trainer?
I don't think anything really surprised me. I think it was expectations. I'm a person who's very detailed oriented, and I'm always on time. I'm always trying the best that I can to meet my responsibilities, but it's nice to have somebody who's got the same dedication to being on time, to being as motivated and prepared for the workout. So I enjoy not having to think about today's leg day or tomorrow's arms or shoulders or back. Somebody says, this is what you're doing today, and I don't have to worry about these things.
How have your energy levels and confidence changed since you began your personal training routine?
Those things have excelled quite a bit. We tend to, as you do these training exercises, to be sore and always tired and sometimes a little sleepy. I've become my dad where he was in bed at 8:30. I'm in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock because I want to be here early in the morning. So I think it's given me a boost of confidence in my abilities to be able to perform here at the gym and continue to grow and add more stress to my body and be able to continue to make improvements.
How has personal training influenced other aspects of your life, such as work or family?
For work, I think it's helped me be a little more clear-minded on a daily basis. I don't sit much anymore. I feel more confident to be able to stand more. Luckily, I've had the opportunity to have one of those sit-stand desks, so I probably stand 60%, 70% of the day at work and not get tired. At home, I'm always looking for something to do. It used to be, sit in front of the television and watch TV or watch a game. So now it's more about what can I do around the house, what I need to do to stay active.
What advice would you give to someone considering personal training but is is unsure if it's right for them?
I think people need to try it. You need to have a deadline. I'm going to try it for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days and truly give it a shot. It's going to be hard at the beginning. You need to constantly be motivating yourself. I decided that we're going to do this for a year. I said, I'm going to give this process a year to get me where I need to be as far as my goals. I know I've got that in my head. I've got 12 months, I'm 120 days, 4 months, going to 5 months in. So, I still got a long ways to go, but I'm excited to see what the results will be in that time period. So give it a shot, but give it a meaningful shot. You can't come for a day and try it out. You need to make that commitment for a longer period of time.
Speaking on motivation, how do you maintain motivation and stay committed with your training goals?
Communication with my trainer. We constantly chat via text about, hey, see you tomorrow. Be sure that we're on the same page. We talk about scheduling. There's times where I can't be here or my trainer can't be here. We talk about those in advance and we make adjustments to make sure that I at least get the days that I need on a weekly basis to get in the gym and get my routine done. So communication is a big motivator because we're in tune, we're on the same page, and having that ability to have that conversation and make sure that we're straight is important.
How have your eating habits and nutrition changed since training?
Well, we've gone through several iterations of diets with this process. We introduced carnivore about 30 days ago, and I really like carnivore. I think I see a big difference in my body, more so, my mind and my skin, and I just feel much better. Inflammation's gone. I used to be getting up in the morning and my back hurt, my knee hurt, everything would pop as I'm trying to get out of bed, and that's pretty much gone away in the sense that I feel much better. I don't know if I'll stay on carnivore forever, but I think it's best for my body type. As long as I keep visiting my doctor, getting my lab work done, make sure that cholesterol doesn't get out of whack, I'll probably do some sort of a modified carnivore from here on out, unless the doctor says it's not working for you.
How did you get introduced to the carnivore diet, and how flexible was your trainer on accepting such a diet?
I joke around, I'm always looking at the number. In my head, I've got this overall weight number that I want to attain, but when you're working out doing the weights, then you're losing fat, but you're gaining muscle, so the overall number isn't moving fast enough for me. So I decided to try something. I've read so much about carnivore diet and why people sometimes don't get the benefit of eating fibers or eating fruits and vegetables because of the man-made chemicals that are introduced into those products in order to make them grow and stay healthy and have shelf life. So I kept reading, did a lot of research on it, and I decided, hey, this is something that I could try. We agreed to try it for 30 days, and then we extended it for 60 days. I think the results have been positive. My blood work came back, and my doctor said, Ray, once these are in line, you're no longer diabetic.
Awesome, that's great news. How has your overall physical and mental health improved since personal training?
Mental health has never been a problem. I've always tried to stay positive, and I like the results, and getting affirmation from friends and family about my progress is helpful for my continued health. As far as physical, obviously the physical is more obvious to everybody else. As I said earlier, we tend to remember ourselves when we're 20 years old, so you don't see it until you start not fitting in your clothes and having to buy new clothes because nothing fits properly anymore. So being a professional, I wear a lot of professional dress suits that you've got to replace. You can get them altered or tailored as much as you can, but then they no longer look right. You just got to start spending money to get new clothes.
Have you noticed any changes in your mindset or attitude towards fitness and exercise since starting your training journey?
I think I've come to the realization this is going to be part of my life from here on out. And sometimes, you think about fitness and you want to get feeling shape, you want to get in shape, and then you want to go back to your normal life. And my attitude is that you can never go back to that because then you'll end up right back at where you were. This has to be part of my life for the rest of my life until such time I can't do it anymore. So I think I've accepted that, and I'm committed to staying healthy.
What are some of the common misconceptions about personal training that you would like to dispel?
Probably some of the misconceptions is that it's expensive. It may be for some folks, some other folks it's not, but you got to think about it as far as an investment, long-term investment for yourself. The cost of healthcare and the cost of medications for the rest of your life is probably far outweighs the cost that you would pay somebody to help you reprogram your body and get you straight. So what people today spend on going to have Starbucks every single day probably is equivalent to what you would pay a trainer on a weekly basis. You just don't know it because you're paying $5 at a time, but it's $5 every single time, 3 or 4 times a day. Those numbers add up. So if you just replace that with somebody who's going to help you long term, then you're going to see some value there.
What are some of the qualities or characteristics that make for a successful personal trainer-client relationship?
Communication. I think as long as both parties understand what the goals are, and us as clients need to be able to say, hey, this is what I want to do, and the trainer needs to say, we can do that, or we can't do that, or we can do that, but it's going to take some time, and you got to be patient. So you got to feel confident in your trainer. You got to feel confident that they're doing their research and they're keeping up to date with the products that are being offered today to help us reach our goals. I think communication is the biggest thing that's the most important for me.
As someone who has experienced the benefits of personal training, what do you think sets it apart from other forms of fitness?
I'm really a pretty busy guy. Having somebody to set your daily schedule, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to target, and making sure you're doing it right where you don't hurt yourself. If you do it on your own, then you got to not only motivate yourself, but you got to do your own research and say, okay, what am I going to work on? How much weight I got to put on? What's the right form? You may injure yourself to the point where you say, you know what, I can't do this. I got to stop doing this because I hurt myself. So having somebody that is knowledgeable, stops you when you're doing something wrong, let's say stop, you're doing this wrong, you're going to hurt yourself, and showing you the right way to do things and tracking you and paying attention to you while you're doing your exercises is key for me.
Is there a last message that you'd like to leave someone who's maybe up against the wall about personal training?
You've got to make that mental decision that you want to make changes in your life. It's an investment. It's something that you got to look at it as a long-term investment and long-term return. Health is a premium today. There's always a doctor that will give you a prescription for something, and I believe that most of those medications are probably not good for you long-term. But I think if you were to just focus on yourself and make the changes and stay positive and have that open communication with the trainer and make that commitment. You got to make the commitment that you're going to do this. I chose 5 in the morning because nothing else is going to get in the way. I don't have anything going on at 5 in the morning except sleeping. So might as well get my ass to the gym and do my deal. In the evenings, things happen, family stuff, work stuff that maybe gets in the way and you can't make your session. I'd suggest pick at a time when you know you're not doing anything and you'll always be available.
Awesome. And before we close, tell me how your relationship with your family, your wife, and your kids have changed since you started this weight loss journey.
You become more active, you get more involved, you're less focused on sitting around and ignoring people, right? So you're more engaged. I've got 3 daughters. I've got 2 in college, 1 in law school, and I've got 1 still at home. She's always constantly involved in school stuff and after school stuff, and she's always eager to try to have a conversation about how her day went. And I can have a long day, a hard day, and just want to come home and not think about stuff, but you need to have the strength and will to give them their time that they need. So my relationship with wife is great. She's always been supportive. She's somewhat of an athlete. She rides street bikes every day, probably rides more than 100, 150 miles a week on the bicycles. She's pretty active, and she's happy to see that I'm active too.
You think you're gonna catch up, sir?
Riding a bike? No. It's too far advanced.
All right, Eddie, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Sure.